Okay. All right. I am so excited about today. We have Reverend Dr. Michele Whittington as our guest. She has been my mastermind partner. She has been a minister, co-minister with me. And I love and adore her. She's going to talk about unleashing your life. And I'm so excited, Reverend Dr. Michele, to have you with us today. So
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to be here.
all right, let's get going.
Let's
I
go.
want you to just talk to me about how you started your spiritual life. How did you get into this whole spiritual thing? Can we go
Yeah.
back that far?
Oh, yeah, we can definitely go back that far. So
Okay,
first of
come
all,
on.
hello, everybody. Lovely to see all of you here. New faces to me, I think. So lovely to meet new people. My spiritual journey started in probably 1988. And it started because the only thing in my life that at that point I felt didn't really work was a relationship. And that's all I wanted. I mean, I had a great job, I had friends, I had money, I had all the good stuff. Spirituality at that point didn't really mean anything to me, so that wasn't on the table. But I couldn't make a relationship work to save my life. And after boyfriend number 2000 walked out the door, and I'd been married 2 times, I slumped along the wall and said, "Oh God," who I wasn't sure I believed in, "why is this happening to me again?" And oh God answered with a reply that was really a question, which was, in all these failed relationships, what is the common denominator? And that common denominator was, of course, me, which sent me on a journey of emotional healing to a therapist who was divinely guided. I was divinely guided to her because she said, "You're trying to fill a hole in your heart with a relationship that will never be filled. With a relationship, you need to fill it with something bigger than you. Let's call it God." She said, "I can work with you on all your emotional baggage, and you have plenty to work on, but you need to go create a relationship with something bigger than you." So I went church shopping. I figured I better listen to what she's saying to me because I was paying her a lot of money and I might as well do what she said. I knew I didn't want to go back to my traditional religion, so I started church shopping and walked into a Church of Religious Science in 1988, and the rest is history.
And then you became a practitioner?
Well, no,
Did you go just right into being the
I
minister?
just went right into being a minister. Yeah, let's not bother with being a practitioner. I went a bit of a different route. So I did go straight into being a religious science minister in about 94 or 5.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit more about your life a little bit, right? And so you found the man of your dreams,
I
or he
did
found you,
both. Yep.
right? And
Right.
it was love at first sight.
Well, pretty, yes. Yes. After a little bit of conversation, which I can share if you want me to, because it was pretty fascinating.
Whatever you want to share.
Okay. So yeah, to put a footnote, I guess, on my story of how I got into spirituality, I got into it because I was trying to create a good relationship. And through my therapy and through science of mind and learning how to do affirmative prayer, and I did a prayer for, the perfect mate. And then we met through work. It was a work related. We didn't work together, but it was a project that he worked on and I did, and we met. So yeah, I did find absolutely the man of my dreams. Just could not have been a more perfect partner for me. But love wasn't love at first sight. For me, on my side, it was certainly, oh my golly, at first sight when I first met him. Like, woohoo! Be still, my beating heart. And I actually asked him out uh, by sending him a letter because we had this little project and then the project was done and there was no reason to see him again. But I was very interested and I had done some healing work and I prayed about him and I'm like, I think this might be the guy. So I sent him a letter because I was too shy at that point to actually just call and ask him. Today I would just call and ask, but then I couldn't do that. So he called me right away and said, "Yes, I'd love to go out with you." And we did. And on date 3, he said to me, "I need to tell you something about me before we go any farther. because you need to know about this because you might want to get out right now, which was a little bit of a scary conversation. But basically, he said, for the past 6 years, I've dated exclusively one woman, but for the past 6 years, I've done that. But then the last 2 years of those 6 years, I've exclusively dated another woman. So basically, I've been exclusively dating 2 women for the last 2 years. And I just got busted. A week before he and I met, they had come to him together and busted him. And he said he was never going to date again because he had to heal his wounds. He had to clean up his act. He didn't want to do that anymore. He wasn't going to date maybe ever again, he said. And these are his words. When I reached out to him, he said, I was wounded, but not stupid. And so I decided to say yes to your invitation. And I want you to know, I don't want to be this way anymore. I want to change. I don't know if I can, but I need you to know this is my history. And I thought, wow, I've never heard a man talk that honestly to me before. And it made me say, I've had 2 marriages and a million relationships, and I want to do it differently too. I don't know if I can. Let's try together. And so that's what we did.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. And so,
Yeah.
so when did give me a year of that? What year was that?
That we met in 89.
So 89. And when did you guys get married?
91.
91. And then you became a minister in what year?
94, I think it was.
94. And you were the minister at Creative Living Fellowship for how many years then?
Almost 22.
Almost 22 years. And Lonnie passed.
Yes, he passed in May of 18, so almost 5 years ago, coming up on 5 years.
And we were all heartbroken, but no one near as much as you were.
Right.
And so then 5 months later, you stepped down from the church. Can we talk about why?
Sure.
Yeah, let's talk about why.
Yeah, but let me get my tissue before we do that.
Okay.
Because this is still an emotional thing for me. So publicly, and I'll tell you both, publicly and privately. Publicly, I stepped down because Lonnie was such an integral part of the church and my life and support of me as the senior minister that doing it without him just was too difficult. It was just too difficult. Also, and I didn't say this necessarily at the time, but I was probably getting ready to step down anyway. I was getting tired. 22 years is a while, and I was getting tired, but I wouldn't have stepped down had he not left us, had he not transitioned. I wouldn't have done that. But in my heart of hearts, I was probably ready to do that. But what I didn't say publicly then, I have said it since, but what I didn't say publicly then was that I actually had a dark night of the soul, and I reached out to Reverend Richard, and he did a wonderful session with me because I had a dark night of the soul of, do these principles that I've been believing and teaching for decades, do they really work? Because Lonnie did everything spiritually right. We prayed. He was in healing circles. He went to see John of God in Brazil. He did releasing work of emotional stuff. He did everything he knew to do spiritually to stay here, and he didn't. So I went through a dark night of the soul, and I could no longer stand in front of a congregation and speak words that I wasn't sure I believed anymore.
So how's that process been for you coming out of that?
Yeah, well, for about the first year, I was just in, a fog of grief and keeping my head above water in terms of life, because he did so much around the house that I didn't ever have to think about anything. And then all of a sudden I'm fully responsible for everything. That was a lot. So grief, managing my life, starting a new business, I just didn't have to think about it. So for about a year, I didn't even think about it. Like, yeah, we'll just put that on hold. I didn't have to go to church anymore because I wasn't a minister, and I went now and again, but I didn't go very much. And then I probably, had a layer of healing, had my life a little more under control. And it started coming up to the surface. And in the surface, it was like, yeah, Michelle, you can't not deal with this, because your spirituality is who you are and it's part of you. And I need to investigate and explore, what is this for me now? And where am I? I can't just ignore it. So I started that exploration. I talked to Richard, I talked to other people, I went within. I had to come to a new level of understanding, I think, about how life works and how the law, we in religious science, we talk about the law. You don't talk about that as much in unity, I don't think, but the law is a big thing in religious science, which is my lineage. And like what you plant in the law, you get in your life. Well, yeah. And there's a higher law, I think, than the law of like attraction. Let's call it the law of attraction, for a lack of a better term. There's a higher law than that. And that's what I came to realize. And that's the law of impermanence. And there's nothing in this human experience that will last forever, including us, including us. And when our soul is ready to go and has done what it's done here, even if consciously we don't want it, or the people who love us don't want it, we're going to go. And personally, I'm just giving you my personal view here. No matter how much prayer is done, that's not going to change that. And as much as I didn't like it, it was Lonnie's time to go.
Yeah.
That even hurts my heart to say that, but it had to have been his time to go, because he did.
Yeah, and there's something powerful about living in a universe that's greater than my will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't always like it, right? Because I'd like my will to be the dominant force in the universe.
Yep.
It's just not.
Right.
So you've come out of this experience, and you're teaching now, you're speaking now, you're being an amazing version of yourself.
Thank you.
So when you look back over your years in ministry, what is the thing that you see that was maybe the most prevalent issue that people deal with in their life?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I love that question. I just actually taught a class last night. I teach a woman's class every week. And we were talking about this very topic last night. Health and finances and relationships, those are kind of the big ones. But even more than that, people don't know what their purpose for being here is. That's the question. Why am I here? What's my purpose? I don't know that. Anybody here on the call have that question? Yeah, right. What's my purpose? Why am I here?
So what do you tell people when they're questioning their purpose?
Yeah. So I believe that our purpose is twofold. I think, and fold number one of our purpose is the same for every one of us. And whether we're living our purpose, that's a whole nother story. But I think our purpose is the same for all. The first fold of our purpose, same for everybody. Second fold of the purpose, different for everybody. So the first level of purpose is, to quote Meister Eckhart, who was a great mystic of millennia ago, said, "Let God be God in you." So I think our first purpose is to be the highest and best expression of the divine that we can be. So, that means expressing love and compassion and care and peace and abundance and, all those beautiful qualities of the divine that we can put to it. And I think that's the purpose for every single one of us. Again, whether we live that or not, that's a different story. We now have choice, but I think that's why we're here. We came on this earth plane to be the best expression of God that we can be.
And what do you see as number two?
I see number two as sharing our unique gifts, talents, beingness in the highest way we can. And my gifts and talents are different from yours. Each one of us has unique, even if it's the same, like, and this is not me, but let's say you're a singer, and you know, a million people are singers, but you're a singer in a unique way to you.
All
So
right.
express our
So let
unique
me
gifts.
recap that. So we're all expressions of God. So our first job is to express God. And our second way is to do it in the way that we have been wired, programmed, designed to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. And so after going through your healing time, you have to be you.
Yeah.
And being you means that you write now and you speak and you teach. So let's talk about the work that you're doing with people in the community and around the world right now.
Yes.
Talk to
What
me
part of
about
that
that.
do you want to hear about?
I want to hear about all of it. You know me. Don't leave anything
I do. I
don't leave
do.
anything unturned.
Oh, you're making me laugh, Richard, because I just have to say one thing to you guys on the call. So Richard and I were prayer partners for for many, many years. And then he came to a conference and was a keynote at a conference that I am a part of and have been and am still. And I introduced him. So I introduced you, and I gave a very nice introduction. But then when Richard came on, he said, you know, it's very scary to have your mastermind partner introduce you because they know a lot about you.
Right.
So I will, that just always makes me laugh, and I just thought of it. So
No,
the
we're
bottom
not going
line,
there. We're keeping everything above board here.
yes, sir. Oh no, I promise. I promise. But you know, I will just say too, as a mastermind partner, Richard, you said something to me that served me so much. It was around, may I go off on a tangent for just a
Yep.
moment to
Please.
say this?
It's your hour.
Because it was so amazing. My mother had passed away, and she was a difficult relationship, and her passing was a difficult passing. And I was having these horrible dreams that she hadn't passed, and I'd forgotten her, and I'd left her, and you know, it was, oh, they were horrible. And I had one the night before we got together for mastermind, and I was telling Richard and our other mastermind partner about it. And I said, I don't get it, because I said, Mom and I were pretty clean before she left. And, you know, I'd released her, and I don't understand why I'm having these dreams that aren't just dreams. These are visitations. I mean, I know that. And Richard said to me, Michele, I don't think it's you that hasn't let her go. I think it's her who has not let you go. I don't know if you remember this or not,
I
Richard,
do.
but then you said to me, why don't you tonight before you go to sleep, just talk to her and say, it's okay, you can let me go. Because we had kind of an enmeshed relationship. And so I did that night. Before I went to sleep, I said, Mom, I know you're still looking at me and holding on to me, tight to me, but I just want you to turn around, and you've got infinity behind you. So why don't you take a peek at that, and we'll be together again down the road. But for now, go there. And I never had another one of those dreams after that. So you did that. Thank you.
Just occasionally I say the right thing.
Now and again. Yeah. Now and again, you bring out something pretty smart. Yeah.
Yeah, I get cue cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
let's talk about your work.
yes. Yes. So I now support people, mostly women, but Jeff, I want you to know, not just women, in releasing the brakes of their life and moving in toward their dreams. So I love working one-on-one, mentoring people who have reached a certain level of happiness and joy and accomplishment and success, or whatever other words you want to use, who have reached a certain level of that, but realize there's more. There's more of me to be, because, you know, we are infinity. So we're always expanding and growing, and there's always more for us to be, to express. So that's just lights me up to be able to help people go from this great level to an even greater level to an even greater level. And I do that.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I do that with one-on-one mentoring, and I'm blessed to have many years of spiritual tools and insights and my own experiences to bring to the table. So that's a big part of what I do, is that one-on-one mentoring.
That's great. And you've written some books?
I have written, I just happen to have it right here.
Good. Come on, we hold it up.
Right here it is. It's called From Our Hearts to Yours, stories and lessons on conscious loving, conscious dying, and conscious living. So it's about Lonnie's and my relationship, how it started, and what made it work so beautifully, what made it work so beautifully. That's the first part. That's the lessons on conscious loving. And then conscious dying was our journey through his illness and death, and how we walked through it so very openly and consciously, with deep conversations, nothing unsaid, nothing left to regret, just a beautiful process. And then the third part of his conscious living, which is life for me after, because life changed dramatically. And while it is not the life I expected, it is a really lovely, my life is beautiful and wonderful and thriving. And so the last part of the book is about, how do you do that?
So share with us one of the insights that you got out of one of those sections, either the loving, the dying, or the living.
Are you asking me to say that?
Yes, please. One of the insights from the book that you want to share with us.
Okay. So one of the insights from the book on loving is, okay, I'll share this one. So in the book, I give like 12 ways that Lonnie and I were together that made the relationship work so well. And one of them was his. He would say this, and we counseled people also, as well as we did couples counseling. He had a theory of us. It's the theory of us, meaning in a relationship, there is you, there is me, and there is us. What's the most important in this relationship? It's us. It's us. So it means, I don't have to always get what I want, because maybe what I want isn't best for us.
Mm.
So we just kept that in mind. And it's not about giving yourself up and, not standing for what you want or believe in, but it's a different perspective when you have in your mind us. It makes you think, okay, what's really important here? Is me digging my toes in, so my heels in, so I get what I want, the most important and damaging this relationship? Or is it our relationship? So we both came with that perspective, and that was one of the things that made our relationship so beautiful.
Do you think, can I ask you a follow-up on that one? Mm-hmm. So when a couple's committed to us, there has to be a sense of being willing to put joint needs ahead of personal needs, right? So there has to be a level of emotional maturity from both partners that the us is always going to be more important than the me.
Well, and yes, Richard, that takes you to the very first tool, I guess I'll say, or thing that makes a relationship work, which I didn't say, but the first one is you've both done a lot of your own healing work. Not to say you're completely healed, every past wound is healed, but be on that path for sure. Because a narcissist, that whole "you complete me" thing from what was it, Jerry Maguire? The line "you complete me." No, that's not. Nobody completes you. You complete you.
Right.
Right.
Because you can't be in an us relationship with a narcissist.
No.
Because they're always about me.
Right.
So you can't really heal somebody else's narcissism.
Correct.
Right. We've seen this in the country. We've seen this in relationships. You can't do that. Right. So you got to be a good picker from the beginning.
Pick wisely. Right. That's true.
Right.
Right. And one of the reasons again that we work so well is because being authentic and real is hugely important in any relationship. And on date number 3, Lonnie said, you need to know who I've been. And I don't want to be this way, but you need to know who I've been. And I said, you need to know who I've been. And we lived that from that moment on in terms of being authentic and real. This is who I am. This is what you get. And so a year and a half later, we decided, yeah, I like this. We're going to get married. So we
That's
picked
fabulous.
well. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Okay, so I also want to, and then we're going to open it up to everybody to ask questions. But I get my first, I get the first share, right? And I also want to talk to you about intuition. And you've spoken a lot about intuition. You use intuition in your life. Talk to me about how you know when it's guidance or intuition or feeling, and how do you know when it's your breakfast burrito?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I actually have developed a little method that I just kind of came to it because it just worked for me. And then I started teaching this, that it's pretty simple, but it takes some time. You need some time to grow this. But the way you can know intuition, well, first of all, I believe that our intuition, which of course is the God voice within us, will never steer us wrong. It will never steer us wrong. So here is my 3-prong approach to intuition, to developing it, honing it, and then really knowing how to recognize it. Step 1, pay attention to when you get what you think might be an intuitive hit. Okay? When you think it might be an intuitive hit, pay attention to it. So this requires staying awake, or as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, stand guard the portal of your mind. So pay attention. Wow, was that an intuitive hit? Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe it's my breakfast burrito, but maybe it's an intuitive hit. That's number 1. Number 2 is follow it or don't. Make a conscious decision to follow it or not. Okay? Number 3, observe the results. And I promise you, if it's your intuition, it will steer you in a direction that is exactly right for you to go. If it's the burrito, your ego, your whatever, yeah, it might not bring happiness, joy, fulfillment, right direction. And, in the bigger picture, we know that there's no wrong direction, but that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother conversation. So as an example, this is a silly little example, but many, many years ago, you guys, most of you don't know me. Richard might not even know this about me, but I love shoes. I love shoes. And I love high heel shoes, and I love fancy shoes, and I just love shoes. So I had a pair of shoes that I loved, but I put them on this one particular morning. This was church. I put them on this one particular morning, and I had this voice in my head, yeah, you shouldn't wear these shoes. They're not stable. It's like, yeah, no, forget, no. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course they're stable. I've worn them a bunch of times. They're fine. And then I was walking to the church and I heard that voice again, Michelle, you shouldn't wear these shoes. They're really not stable. And they were sort of wobbly, but I'm like, yeah, knock it off, So my ego is not wanting to listen to that voice because I like these shoes and I want to wear these shoes. Don't you know, that night I was teaching a class and I took a step back and it wobbled and I fell down and I broke this wrist.
Wow.
So that is the listen to it, follow it or don't. I didn't. I fell and broke my wrist. Well, look at that.
And so all 3 of those steps are really asking us to be more conscious.
Totally conscious. Yes. Yes.
Like, even if we decide not to do it, even if we just say, hell with it, I'm going to do it my own way, even that's just a conscious decision.
Absolutely.
And then you get to see, by observe, did it work?
Right. And the more you observe, the more you listen, and then make your choice, and then observe, the more and the more you recognize, oh, that was intuition, because look at what happened there. That I did the thing I really should have done. I made that phone call when I should have made it. And then the voice gets stronger, if you will, the voice, the intuitive voice. The more you listen to it and pay attention to it, the stronger and clearer it gets.
Right. Because I think culturally, from an ego place, most of us have a difficult time at some level obeying that divine guidance. You know, our culture, obey is not a sexy word.
Yeah.
Right. And so we want to, like, you know, there's that joke about, is there, you know, can I get a second opinion? You know, every
Right.
time God gives us guidance, is there
Right.
another voice we can talk to? And I think for most of us, you know, there is that ego transformation that simply gets to the point at some point that just says, thy will be done. But most of us don't start out there.
No, we like our shoes. Right.
Right.
I like
Absolutely.
Right.
Or we like our breakfast burritos or whatever it is that we want to do, regardless of what Spirit says.
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's fabulous. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's open this up for some questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand, go down and Kate, you're right up. Unmute yourself and ask the question.
First, I want to say that you've been strumming my life with your fingers.
Oh.
Almost to the same years and everything.
Okay.
Anyway, I wanted to ask about that a little bit. I have a situation with someone, and I can't really tell whether or not I need to write them a letter. We've had other correspondence. I need to write them a letter, whether that's my ego still wanting to make everything right, or whether it's intuition saying this might be the thing that smooths it over and takes it to the next step. I really don't know. And I don't have any other I haven't observed this before in myself, so I
You have or have not?
have not. So I don't have a something to go by.
Got it. So this is for me, Richard, or is this for you? Question.
No, this is yours,
Oh,
unless you don't.
okay, cool.
Unless you
Yeah,
want
okay.
me to take it.
No, I'll take it. I just didn't want to jump on you if it was for you. So
No.
I actually use a process to, if I'm not sure, like I don't know. And I call it following divine guidance. And I'll just say it really quickly, and then you could do this. And so the following divine guidance is, I write a question down, like, and your question would be, what's the best thing to do here?
Yeah.
And then I, put on some soft music, and I move myself into a place of really deep and profound gratitude by thinking into and feeling gratitude for 3 like separate things. And I give myself a little time with the first one, and then a little time to add a second one, and then a time to add a third one. And then after that, I move into a place of surrendering any outcome here. Like, I let go of any attachment for any answer or a particular answer. So then I ask the question.
Okay.
And I just write. And Kate, and I teach this too. So I've done it myself, and I've done it with people, and every time amazing things that we would not have in our head normally come out of that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. Any other questions anybody has?
I'm the guy in the room. So do I go last, or is there
No, Jeffrey, you go first, buddy. You go second.
second? Yeah, well, you're more killing me softly with your words than strumming my fingers. So the question, I think, is a little tougher based on the intuition questions. I have no idea what my intuition. Um, I rarely eat breakfast burritos, but when I do, I love them. So it's not like I have to choose. I do, and it's that whatever I live is kind of my intuition. But when you say so I'll follow direction. That's the easiest one. That just goes. I just go with it. But the results, I typically wind up feeling really, really, really good, and then the results hit you like over the head, and you go back, you go, "Wow, was my intuition wrong that long, or did I just go with it and like you said, accept it?" Um, because a lot of things are very unacceptable at this point, even after I've learned to accept it. So, and the question is, when you follow those steps and you don't get the results until the last minute, what does that mean?
I need a little more clarification on your question. Help
Okay,
me
so
understand a little bit more.
so when you observe the results and you're really, really not happy with it, and along the way you were pretty happy with your intuition. So when you observe the results and your intuition, you look back, was it wrong, or um, what do you make of that? What do you make of the choice of buying the breakfast burrito that you like, or just going with it that you like and feel good about it, and then wind up at the end going, wow, both the breakfast burrito and the smoothie just really didn't work out.
That's a great question.
Intuition.
What's that?
It wasn't intuition.
Possibly. That's a possibility. Possibility. I guess the thing that's coming up for me, Jeff, and I don't know if this is going to directly answer your question or not, but my intuition is saying say this, so I will. Sometimes things are the long game. I mean, we know what we want. We want this, and that may or may not be the thing that's the highest and best for us, because as we said at the very beginning of this, Richard said it, is that, isn't it nice to know we live in a universe that has a higher intelligence than us? that there are things happening way beyond what we think we want and need. And so sometimes, and maybe this isn't really intuition, but I will use it with my example of Lonnie passing. I mean, gosh, did I want him to pass? No. Was that painful and difficult? Is it still painful? Yes. All of that. And yet, and at this exact same time, my life would not be what it is today if he were still here. And I really love my life. And I would still be a minister of a church. I'm pretty sure of that. And my life is so much more fulfilled now. And it's not because he's gone. I mean, I would love him to be on this journey with me, but he isn't. I didn't get that choice. And my life is different, so different now than it would have been. And I love this life and I love what I'm doing. I wouldn't have expected it. So I guess this is kind of the longer game. I wouldn't have expected it. And the journey to get here was hard.
And I find that sometimes guidance isn't a one-time shot.
Right.
Sometimes God wants us to open a door and we think that's going to be our door forever. And it's just not. And so we have to learn how to be in the guidance of the moment, but in the next moment, be receptive to the guidance of that moment. And so sometimes we're right where we're supposed to be, but then we're not really listening to the nuances of how we need to keep moving. Like, because as Michele said, nothing in the universe is static. So it's not guidance one and done forever. It's guidance for that moment and the next moment and the next moment. And we have to kind of stay in the flow. So it can absolutely be the right guidance. And we just need to keep moving with it. Does that make sense, Jeff?
So maybe if you observe the results, you didn't necessarily lose, you wound up winning in some ways.
Or if you're not getting the results you want, the other thing to say is, okay, Spirit, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, this is what I felt like you were guiding me into. I said, yes, I'm here, but now it's not feeling so good. So what's the deal? And then I believe Spirit will just keep revealing the next thing. That sometimes it's not a one and a done.
And I wear comfortable shoes and rarely fall down. So if that's any help to you.
There you go.
So good for you, right?
Yeah, well, we men have our own ego issues. It's not always with our shoes, but it doesn't mean we don't have our own ego issues, right? Anybody else have a question for Reverend Dr. Michele? Come on, Miss Nancy.
I don't really have a question, Doctor. I saw you maybe 2 years before COVID over at the Edmonds campus for lunch, and I just wanted to say what a joy to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
But one of the things I was thinking when you were sharing about your dear husband, Lonnie, and everything, and the wonderful kind of formulaic way that he put it, that in a relationship, and I think that could be marriage, it could be children and parents, it's I, you, and then us. That is just a beautiful way to really capsulize that. And I have a feeling I'll be repeating that to myself quite a few times within family.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that, Nancy. Thank you so much.
That's great. All right, now you're the head of an organization. Can you talk to us about that?
I
Executive
can.
Director.
Absolutely. But Linda had her hand up. Do we want to go there first, Richard?
No, let's go to Linda first. I'm sorry, I missed it.
I wanted to say that sometimes I'm in this place, it's called the void or in limbo, where I may be going through an ending, I'm going through a transition, but I'm at that space where I really don't know what to do. I may experience pain and grief and go out and try something, and it's like, nope, that isn't it. Nope, that isn't it. Going back and forth. And so I think sometimes when we're not accepting of that place, our ego takes over and wants to control God. So I wonder if you want to comment on that. Is that correct? That sometimes we have to be in that void and just feel the pain and experience without running around trying to do something.
Absolutely. Oh, and yes, our ego doesn't like that at all. And we don't like feeling pain, and we just want to get it resolved today. And I learned so much through this journey with Lonnie, but one of the big lessons for me was you have to feel the pain. You cannot push it away. I mean, you can, but it's going to come back and bite you in the you-know-what at some point. So if we're having emotional pain, grief, loss, whatever it might be, it is imperative in my book that we let ourselves feel it. Now, I had a mentor once who said, when you're going through hell, keep going, don't stop and build a condo. So I believe in, yes, we absolutely must feel our pain. And actually, I think when we do really let ourselves feel it and not try to push it away with food, drugs, sex, rock and roll, shopping, whatever it might be, we actually just let ourselves feel it, it will dissipate much more quickly. But we also don't want to go down a rabbit hole and live there. Right? So, but yes, I agree with you 100%, and especially when, there's been an ending either in you emotionally or an external situation like a job or a relationship. There's an ending that happened here, and then we're not here yet, and we've got this bridge. This bridge. Yeah, that's a place to just hunker down, if you will, be real with your emotions, be real with yourself, and get yourself as spiritually supported as you possibly can.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump in with one more before you talked about what you're doing now. So I see in the world right now that a lot of us are learning to surrender.
Mhm.
That through, difficult times, even through great times, that there seems to be a real focus in people's lives about this surrender piece. And in New Thought, we sometimes have difficulty with the surrender piece, even though many of our people come from the 12 steps where, surrender is the first step. So talk to me about how, like, is surrender part of your spiritual practice? How do you do it? How have you made peace with it? Talk to me about surrender, because with Lonnie,
Yeah.
I'm sure you had to learn how to surrender.
Absolutely. And I, like a lot of people, probably come to surrender a bit kicking and screaming, because I have a very clear view of how I think things should be, and they should be according to my law. Queen Michele wants it the way she wants it. And so that is a spiritual surrender is a spiritual practice for me, and one that needs to be, that muscle in me is always being strengthened. And the longer I live, the more I grow, the deeper I get, the more important surrender is, because I don't know anything really. I mean, I don't. And so just to surrender to the divine, to say, I have little signs. I still have little signs around. Like, one of my signs is, I can't wait to see how God works this out. I can't wait, because I don't know. I might think I know or have a way, but I don't know. So I'm going to surrender and let source figure this one out. And, again, kind of going to it's never going to steer you wrong. Whenever I have done that, and, I definitely had to do it with Lonnie for sure. Source does work it out. Always.
That's fabulous, right? That really is, because I as a caregiver, one of the blessings for me as a caregiver was making peace with surrender.
Yeah.
Because it was not like I didn't get a vote. Right. I mean, I got a vote how I showed up and if I was cranky about it, but I didn't, when you're in that experience of caring for somebody you love, like you're either in for the ride or you're not.
Right.
And so, it was a I think for me anyway, being a caregiver has been one of the great spiritual transformative things in my life, because I think people that knew me before caregiving would never have picked me to be a caregiver. Like that, like there was about 1 billion other people that people would pick before me, like to be a caregiver, and yet it had a deep transformative effect on my life.
And I think one of the things we get to surrender to when we're in that position is we get to surrender fully and completely to love, right? We just get to surrender fully to divine love, human love.
And dishes, and
Well, and all that
laundry,
too, right?
and making a meal, and
Yep.
whatever's next that's up on the list, right?
Yep. All manifestations of love. Yep.
Yep, because that really is, right? When you're caring for somebody, it's all love.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the good days, it's all love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? It
Mm-hmm.
just is, right? Okay, so talk to us about being an executive director and what you're doing with that.
Yeah. So in addition to my gig as a coach and teacher and speaker and writer, all that good stuff, I, for the last year, have been part-time executive director of a beautiful organization called the Affiliated New Thought Network, or for short, ANTN, ANTN. And ANTN is an umbrella organization for churches, organizations, lay people, individuals who follow New Thought teachings. So it's for folks in unity, it's for folks in religious science and divine science, independent New Thought, or just those who read Wayne Dyer and Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra and all the other beautiful authors that we have who espouse New Thought principles. And it's a it's a 30-year-old organization. I've probably been involved in it for 28 years. First as the minister of my church and then independently. And now I've been on the board and all, but now I'm the executive director of it. And it's just this gorgeous organization that offers support and love and resources to its members. We have and let me just say one more thing, because I love this. We have an annual conference. We've started calling it a retreat every year, and it's the first week of October. And for the last many years, and for the next several years, we are at Unity Village. We meet at Unity Village, which if you have not ever been to Unity Village, that is the place to go.
It's special.
It is extremely special.
So, but not only is it an organization, but it's also, you have a ministerial training and a doctorate training program.
Yes, well, it's not Anton's program, but we are affiliated with a theological school called Emerson Theological Institute. So it is our sister organization. We're not the same organization, but we're affiliated. And many members of Anton are Emerson graduates. And yes, you can get a ministerial credential, you can get your doctorate of divinity, your master's of religious studies, all sorts of spiritual degrees. So it is an accredited school, but it's religious accreditation, just not to be confused. Like, it's not an ASU, it's not a academic accreditation, but it is theological accreditation. It's a great school, and they don't have a campus, so you don't go to a campus. You either do self-study, work with one of their facilitators via Zoom, or you would go to a class if a church or center was an affiliated center. So like my church was an affiliated center with Emerson, so someone could go to my church, take classes, and get the Emerson degree. But it's a great school for someone who wants to maybe get a master's in religious studies, or a bachelor's in religious studies, or an animal chaplain certification. Yeah, they've got lots of different degrees. It's a very cool service.
Well, can I make a request? And I didn't ask this ahead of time, but I feel led to ask this.
Yeah.
Will you lead us in a blessing, in a prayer, in a treatment as we close today?
Yeah, of course. Are we ready to do that at this point?
I am.
Okay, so I would love to do a treatment, which is a 5-step prayer that is the only thing actually that is unique about religious science. Everything else about it is taken from someplace else and consistent with some other religion or denomination, but the 5 steps specifically are unique to religious science. So I would love to take us through a 5-step prayer.
Yes, please.
All right, so if you feel comfortable, eyes closed, and I just invite you to take a couple of really deep breaths all the way down into your diaphragm. Slowly in and slowly out. And with those breaths, take your heart, your mind, the very beingness of you to the highest recognition that you can of this thing that we call God, this infinite source of life, eternal energy, creativity, love, abundance, flow, so much bigger than we could actually even comprehend. But just in this moment, get the biggest picture of God that you can, and feel into that. Feel surrounded by it, encompassed by it, and also filled with it, because I am, and each one of us is, a physical manifestation of God, of the divine, living, breathing, walking, talking. We are it. And in the knowing that we are it, we have the power to speak our word into God's perfect law. And I do that right now as I speak a blessing upon this group. I speak a blessing on the time that we have had, knowing that it has served, supported, uplifted, empowered each of us on this call, myself included. And I know that each one of us, as we move into the rest of our day, continues to be blessed and to be a blessing. So I'm so very, very, very grateful for this time that we had and for the manifestation of this prayer right here and right now. And knowing that it is being manifested right here and right now, I can release my word and let them go. Just like the farmer plants a seed in the soil and then lets it go. I plant this word in the divine law and let it go. I let it be. I call it good. And so it is.
So it is. Reverend Dr. Michele, thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing your love and your insight, your spiritual presence and power. We are so God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So
All right. So
bye-bye.
bye. Thank you.